Welcome back to Worth the War. My name is Kimmy. Here at Worth the War, we are about rethinking love and relationship and sparing hearts. My episodes are short and sweet and to the point, and this one is of paramount importance if you are raising children in a world where 33% of adolescents in the United States of America are becoming victims of sexual, physical, verbal, or emotional dating abuse. Intimate partner violence is affecting way too many people, and it's time for us to realize some of this can be prevented by giving our children the tools to rethink love as it's being approached to by their peers, by even older generations. I don't know about you, but I did not get a whole lot of wisdom when it came to relationships. A lot of what I know or learned was caught and not taught. And that is really sad because we do a really great job of teaching our kids to walk, to run, to play sports, and to try to achieve in school. But the one thing that all humans get a lot of either positive or negative aspects of their life fed into is through human connection. And if we don't understand that we can actually pass down ways to help them do that and start to do it on a regular basis, we're missing the opportunity. We need to do better for the generations that follow us than was done for us. So today we're going to talk about control. How, as parents, we can teach our children about control in relationships in a way that, number one, and nobody likes to talk about this, prevents them from becoming the controller, and also teaches them to recognize what control is, how to identify it, and how to swerve around that sucker so it doesn't capture them in ways that sometimes can take years, decades to heal from. So the first thing we need to do is realize that every important thing we as parents teach our children has to come from us first looking at ourselves. If we are the teachers of control with our children, how do we handle control in our relationships? Is it healthy? Is it unhealthy? We need to be honest with ourselves. We don't want to pass down things that it will actually cause them pain later. So a couple questions we can ask ourselves to figure out how we are setting the example of control in our relationships would be something like, do we allow our children to be authentically themselves? Do we allow them to actually verbalize and to experience life as individuals, or are we trying to make them scared and cowering to make sure that we make them dance to our tune? The next one would be, how do we respond when they disappoint us? Are we responding to our children in a way that will actually give them confidence to keep trying, or are we freaking them out so that they will stop making decisions that are outside of the sphere of our approval? And will they know that they're loved no matter what? Will we be able to confirm for them that they don't have to be the same as us to be loved and supported by us? And if we don't give them this kind of acceptance, how will they ever learn to expect it from others and to give it to others? Why would they expect anything better than controlling relationships if, as a child, we taught them that that is the way that life is, that the more powerful control the weaker? So the first thing that we can do is to help our children identify what controlling relationship looks like. One of the most important things we can teach them is when life gets bumpy, how will they respond? How will the people that they're in community with respond? When it doesn't go their way, will they respond in physical intimidation? Will they yell? Will they even run to substances to calm themselves if they don't get what they want? When our children see these kinds of behaviors in ourselves or others, we want them to learn to register that as a warning sign, not as a normal way to deal with life. Often, controlling others is an avoidance of admitting how very little control we have over ourselves. People who have very little self-control try to reach out and control the people around them, because when they do that, it gives them a really strong sense of a calm in their life. But in reality, all they've really done is transfer that lack of control to, sticking the screws to somebody else to make themselves feel better. It's important for us to be able to teach them how to understand control issues so they can recognize possessive and manipulative people quickly. Time is of the essence. People who are controlling and manipulative are often very talented at hiding that and at actually using manipulative tactics to coerce people into thinking that it's a loving thing that they are controlling. Think about the example of jealousy. Sometimes you'll actually hear people say, oh, isn't that cute? They get so jealous when I talk to somebody else. So it may be cute the first week, but the second week when they don't let you go out with your friends, or they control your phone, or they abuse you because you were friendly with other people, it's not going to be so cute. Those are not characteristics you want to look for in an intimate partner. Where does it come from? What can teens understand? What can our kids understand about what the problem of control is rooted in? Well, it comes from people who aren't sure of their own value. They often want to exert power and intimidate people because it mimics that control over themselves, like we talked about. Kathy Meyer actually said, in a great quote, she said, it is human nature to feel a need of control over our surroundings and to some degree the people we have relationships with. It is that need to control that is at times the main factor in the destruction of our relationships. Yes, wanting to control things is absolutely human. Teaching our children that isn't something that will actually get us what we want and will actually destroy our relationships is intelligent humans. What you have to understand that insecurity mixed with commitment, promises of love and sex can often blur control and concern, can make people think that they're being loved intensely when really they're really being set up and groomed to be controlled intensely. When they are confused by the message, the abuser then is really twisted into being the person they think cares for them. And people who actually give them freedom are started to be painted as people who are not for them and love them. So this is really an important piece to understand, that we got to get the awareness of manipulation quick, because the manipulator generally is going to be adept at making what they're doing seem really loving. Which I know that sounds counterintuitive until you actually see the word salad that's used to do it. And when you see it enough times, you realize, man, they're really good at it. They don't have a lot of plays, these dark hearts, people who'd rather wound us than love us, but the ones that they have, they're really good at. So we need to first start with honesty and say, well, what about our own control issues? If we can teach our children about that, we're not only going to prevent them from getting wrapped up with someone who's controlling, but we're also going to make sure that they don't become the person who tries to control to be able to compensate for the things that they're not confident in. I know no one wants to think about that. How could their child ever be in an abusive relationship and be the abuser? But the reality is nobody wakes up and says, I'm going to abuse my whole life. Generally, it's going to come from places that they don't even have the words, the vocabulary, and the training to recognize. And that's why we're here at Worth the War, is that training not only protects us from hurting others, but protects us from being hurt. It's always easier to look at other people and point out dysfunction, always. But intentional parenting teaches children to look within themselves at the same time. We can see abuse in every corner of the world, but rarely do we ask ourselves, do we have these kinds of tendencies for out of control? Control is one place that we can do a lot of harm and not even try to. There would be no bruises, but the wreckage it can be something that keeps and sticks with people for a lifetime. So here are some simple questions that don't always have simple answers. Take a little bit of time to really ask yourselves and sit and share with your teen some of these questions and let them answer with you. There's no more powerful example of healthy relationships than taking stock of our own mistakes. So do this from a perspective of, let's even talk about my parenting. Making things right in front of our children's eyes, teaching them that control issues are something we need to be aware of and we need to be in command of. We say, see, you've got to actually control our control issues. I know, I just caught that. And but we also need to help them realize that it'll help them understand themselves better and help them understand areas that maybe they are insecure. Because let's be honest, security is a big piece of this. So the first one would be, how do you communicate? Are you aggressive when you're challenged? Do you allow time to listen and try to understand? Do you talk over people? Are you sarcastic or find yourself mocking? If it sounds like I'm reading, I actually am coming from an article that I put on WorththeWar.com, just in case you're wondering if the canter sounds a little bit like it's reading it. These questions are a little bit more than I can memorize. You even want to ask yourself, why do you communicate? What's your purpose? Are you more interested in making a point or getting someone to do what you want? Or do you actually want to understand and acknowledge somebody else's feelings and thoughts and desires? The second one is, are you consistently critical? Are you one of those? And I can tell you as a parent, this is super easy to get into, and it doesn't make you a bad person. It just means you're scared. So you start to criticize everything to make sure you keep your kids safe or the people you love safe. Do you try to mold people by expressing how they fail you? Can you accept when people disagree with you? Can you still love them, support them? When was the last time you pointed out that your child did something really well, even if it wasn't something that you would have done yourself? The third one is, can you be flexible with no notice? Now, this just shows the ability to be adaptable. This is important when it comes to control. Can you hold expectations of doing what you want loosely with an open hand? And how do you respond when everything goes the wrong direction? And maybe it's even somebody's fault. Maybe it's even a decision somebody made that messed up your plan. How do you respond to that? Are you proud of it? Is it something that people would want to live with and live through with you? Or is it a nightmare when things don't go your way? Where is your self-worth rooted? Are you basing your value on the opinions of others? Are you getting a committee to figure out if you're in the right place? Or do you actually know that you are valuable intrinsically? Are you considering external things the source of your value? Or do you know deep down that if nothing goes right and you lose everything you have and you make some major league mistakes, that you will still be intrinsically valuable? That nothing you do or will ever do will change that you are a valuable human being. The understanding that we can identify these things in ourselves and in others really becomes important when we realize that we need to teach our kids that there's a balance of power in every relationship. Our teen needs to understand the less they need, the healthier they will be. I'm not talking about being a negative Nelly here. I'm not talking about being a cynic where I'm never going to get anything out of love, so I don't expect anything. I'm not talking about that. What we're talking about is that for you to be healthy and peaceful, you don't need people to do everything your way. You don't need to get what you want. There was once an example somebody gave me about cookies. This has been huge in my life, and it sounds ridiculous. I get it, but it's an example of not needing things to be happy. I wasn't raised with a lot of things and a lot of security. So when there's like a plate of cookies in a room, of course, you want that biggest cookie, you want the one with the salt on top, you want the last cookie, whatever that is. This is just an example for other things. When I realized that there would always be other cookies, that there would always be other things, I started to free myself from the need to have things. And I really started to enjoy picking up that cookie and giving it to the person who would not stand up and take one. To be generous, to lay my needs aside, to realize that it's okay and there'll be another cookie down the road, and if there's not, that's okay. Self-control really is rooted in security. When you are in a healthy relationship and you are secure, and even if that relationship is with yourself, your expectations of other people and the way things will go will fall away. Most things in life that are important are about balance, and self-control and control is no different. Let's teach our children maybe what we were not taught, that the power of self-worth is the driver of being free and independent. Teach them to live without the weight of being responsible for other people's feelings. There's a balance of power, but we are not responsible to make other people happier. The less we need for other people to dance for us, the more peaceful we will be, and the more able we will be to be a partner in a relationship that is healthy. Self-control flows from a healthy sense of self-worth. We can protect our children and ourselves from being manipulated when we understand the balance and the need that we have to be peaceful over getting what we want. I really hope this has been helpful. Tried to keep it as short as I possibly could and hit all the points, but I really think that if we start to work on this, we're going to see improvement in our own circles and in intimate partner violence as a rule. It will also help us to make sure that if we have things we need to work on, we don't need to be afraid. It's okay to battle with control. It's a big part of being human, and the more we can master it, the happier you'll be. Let's rethink love and relationship and love well or not at all. Have a great rest of your day.